Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming to the annual Louis Armstrong Satchmo Festival. This is, of course, the Satchmo Legacy Stage, sponsored by Hilton and Chevron. And I'm Don Lewis. Welcome to the 19th annual Satchmo Festival, presented by Chevron and the Hilton Satchmo Legacy Stage. This event is produced by French Quarter Festivals, Inc., a nonprofit organization showcasing New Orleans culture and heritage since 1984. This event is made possible through the sponsorship of community-minded organizations and the sale of a Beta beer, Jack Daniels, Sonoma Cotrer, Corbel, Tequila Herradera, Finlandia, Pepsi, Aquafina, Bubbly, Bayou Rum, French Market Cold Brew, Louisiana Iced Tea, and festival merchandise, which helps pay for great entertainment, security, sanitation, recycling, EMS, and production costs. Please support your festival by purchasing from our beverage and merchandise booths. And I'm going to add that there's some festival-specific merchandise out there. In other words, you can only get it out here at the festival. Do your part to keep the festival clean by using recycling and trash containers on site, and support our recycling efforts by purchasing reusable souvenir cups at our beer and cocktail booths. And please enjoy responsibly. Special thanks to the Satchmo Legacy Stage contributors like Hilton, Harrah's New Orleans, Joseph K. and Inez Eichenbaum Foundation, the Ella Fitzgerald Charitable Foundation, the Barbershop Harmony Society, the Fertel Foundation, Ricky and Vicky Nurigan, and Andrea Duplessis. And thank you to all our sponsors, including Chevron, Brown Perman, Abita Brewing Company, GE, Fidelity Bank, WWL-TV, Offbeat Magazine, and so many, 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 many more. Also, at this time, could we take a minute to turn our cell phones, and I don't know if we still have beepers these days, some people do, but turn them off or turn them on vibrate, silent. And also, that we have some, you might not want to get it now, but when you leave here, outside on the tables, there's some wonderful notepads and pens if you want to take some special historic notes, because this is all history, but this is a moment of particular history right here. And pick up a schedule for full listing of our performances, events, and the culinary lineup. Go grab a bite before the next act begins, and stop by the merchandise tent to purchase the official Satchmo SummerFest poster, shirts, and souvenirs. Enjoy the 19th annual Satchmo SummerFest presented by Chevron, and happy birthday, Louis Armstrong. And without any further ado, give it up for our wonderful female all-trumpet panel. Make some noise, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Oh, boy, it's so nice to see everyone here today, and it is a thrill to be up here. I don't think we can compete with beer and whiskey, but
Sure we
we'll
can.
do our best, you know? But, you know, the musician Wendell Brunius says that no matter whose name is on the contract, the trumpet player leads the band. Mm-hmm. Now, you know, Mr. Brunius comes from a whole family of trumpet players, generations of trumpet players, so he knows, you know, what he knows. But there is something about the trumpet that makes us all want to follow. And without the special powers of the trumpet and the life's breath that makes the sound of each individual player unique, none of us would be here today. Nicholas Payton calls the trumpet an instrument of war, a call to arms, he calls it. This is an instrument of the end of the world, but as strong and brash as it can be vulnerable and tender and sensitive. And that brings me and the rest of us, of course, to our lovely guests. Veronique Dorsey and Jazz Henry are trumpeters with the original Peanuts Band, which has been together for 37 years. Is that right?
27.
27? My math is off. Well, you know what? You make it look good.
Only know that because it's the year I was born. It's when we
Really?
started.
Yeah, we weren't born yet.
Yeah,
So they're not so original to the original Peanuts, but they're original enough. And then you know, and then we also are really blessed to have Miss Marla Dixon, and she is actually not a native of New Orleans. Nope. She came to New Orleans from Toronto, Canada, and Toronto in the house. And she is one of the extraordinary leaders of the Shotgun Brass Band, of the Shake 'Em Up Brass Band, and of the Marla Dixon blues band.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
correct. So please help me welcome them. So I want to talk about the trumpet and all. And so which is of course why we're all here. And so you've heard what we mentioned earlier about Wendell Brunius, about Nicholas Payton, who are great trumpeters in their own right and all. But what can you add to their assessment of this instrument? This magical instrument. Who wants to go first? I'm gonna call out names in a second.
I'll go first.
All right then, Miss Jazz Harris.
Okay.
Henry, Lord, Miss Jazz Henry. Mm-hmm.
It's all good. What I like to add is the trumpet is like everybody knows there's the melody to the songs. Every song has a melody. That's exactly what the trumpet is throughout the whole song. The trumpet is the melody. It's the voice. It's the voice of the song. It's it's the feeling along with the bass drum, the tuba. But the trumpet is where you get the feel from. That's the part, the instrument that's singing to you. So, in my opinion, I can see what he could say. The trumpet lead everything, even it don't matter whose name is on the contract, because we do lead everything. The trumpet is the start off to, ba da ba da. Hey, a whole lot of stuff. So, we lead a lot of stuff throughout brass band, throughout jazz music, blues music, all type of different genres of music. The trumpet does a lot of leading.
And Miss Dorsey, yeah.
Yeah, I would just add, like, the trumpet is definitely, it's the voice of the music usually. Mm-hmm. But I really, thought about it being, there's this, harsh feeling from the trumpet, but it also can be so sensitive. And I think, as growing up playing, we've all had, our different places in playing trumpet. And so, I can definitely feel that when I first started, I was, really harsh. And I'm trying to, soften out and find my voice on the horn.
And so tell us about, before we move on, tell us about the tone. How would you describe your tone as opposed to Miss Henry's or Miss Dixon's or Mr. Armstrong's, considering we're here for him?
I would say it's ever changing. So I'm in a place in my, career where I'm
Good answer.
really trying to find my own voice, So definitely, it can definitely have its moments. And so there's some songs where you have to be harsh and you have to be that loud, blaring sound, and carrying the band. But also, there's times, especially with the Pinettes playing with the band, sometimes you lay back, and you just add on to what's going on. But it's a thing. I think with every instrument, you have to find your own voice.
Right.
That's very true. That's very true. Miss Dixon,
yes.
Marla Dixon, what's
Hi.
your opinion? What can you add to what's been said about trumpet? What draws you to this instrument? What can it do?
That's tough. When I first started playing music in high school, I played the bassoon for about a year and a half, and it was great. I loved it. Bassoon's a great instrument. Not knocking the bassoon, but it was not. I was just looking across the room, going, "I want to play that other one." First of all, it's smaller. It's easier to carry home on the bus, and it's just there's something about that position that I just probably spoke to my personality. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll lead the way. And I've played in Sidney Bechet led bands. He did not play the trumpet, but I tell you what, I've played in bands where another instrument is the leader of the band, and I'm happy to hang back. But it's a tough balance because the rest of the band, regardless of who they know the boss is and who's leading the melody and who's leading the song, and everybody's happy to do it. It's not an ego thing. If you play the wrong note, and by the wrong note I mean something just slightly in the lead, everybody's following you, and then you've got communication errors. There's just something about the instrument that, with this specific style of music from New Orleans, you hear the trumpet and you're like, oh, that's my banner, that's my flag, that's where I'm following. So it's intangible. It's historically just the leader.
Tell me something about your trumpet. What kind of trumpet do you play?
I play, you've put me on the spot now. It's an old Ambassador. It was found in a junk shop, and I think that the people thought they were just selling the pretty case. I don't think they knew it was inside, and we got it for $75. And yeah, it was pretty awesome. I've bought a really expensive horn that I don't play anymore, and I'm actually looking to sell if anybody's got some cash. But this was just an old run-of-the-mill, 1950s, bog standard horn. And I think I've heard really great players play it, and it sounds amazing. And I play it, and it sounds like me. And, I read something just the other week, and I'm going to mess it up, and I don't think it's a famous quote or anything, but it was probably like some Instagram inspirational meme or something, but they were saying for any instrumentalist that's down on their playing, just think for a second that you're taking an inanimate object and making it sing. So it's a piece of twisted brass that I'm trying real hard to carry a melody with.
Yes.
That's all I have to say about my playing.
And Veronique Dorsey, what kind of trumpet do you play? And tell us about it. What's its personality?
Interesting. Like Marla, I found my horn at Guitar Center for $100.
Yeah.
It's a Yamaha, and I fell in love with it, one, because I was playing on a Yamaha mouthpiece at the time, and I was like, maybe if I play all Yamaha, it would be like a different sound. I don't know, but now I don't even use that mouthpiece anymore. But anyway, so it definitely has war wounds, and I think that's what's like interesting about it. Like the middle valve cap is off, and I'm like, I don't really feel like replacing it right now. You know, it's like whatever. But it gives me what I need, and kind of like what you said, it's what you put into it. So sometimes I feel like, well, maybe something's wrong with my horn. It's not that. It's like what's coming out of me. And so,
All the time. It's the horn.
No, it's definitely me. But it helps me, I guess, project what I'm feeling at the time for the band and for the audience.
And Miss Henry?
I believe I play on an etude, or if not, also a Yamaha. But I feel the same way. I've been playing on a Yamaha since high school.
What's its personality?
To me, compared to other trumpets that I've played on, like a Jupiter or other stuff like that, it's pretty much more open. Like, I feel way more comfortable, just playing on that. And like I said, I've grown up playing with the recent music, so that was the brand horn that I had growing up. So I guess I kind of got used to playing on it, even though I tried out like different horns and stuff. But that's what had my most attention and gave me the most comfortable feeling that I can play. I can play on this. I can project my volume. I can, it's just comfortable with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, Miss Dixon, you, as the story goes, you at one point in your life set away music, set it aside,
Mm-hmm.
and then heard New Orleans traditional music,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously couldn't get it out of your mind, and all. But what was it that brought you to this form? Why did it ignite in you?
I wish I knew the answer to that, because it would make interviews so much easier. I have, my first CD that I ever bought, and I'm older than your other panelists, so I remember when CDs were new. But the first CD I ever bought was a used copy of Louis Armstrong's Stardust compilation. And Ricky tell me, I don't even think Stardust was on that CD. I'm not sure. It was. But it was growing up where I did, there was no other musicians in my family to speak of, and that wasn't a style of music that you really heard a lot around me, but it was just something that always, whenever I heard New Orleans music, it always caught my ear. I played a little bit of trumpet in high school, and my teachers would say, "You sound like an old man." And, I'd be like, is that good or bad? I don't know.
Right.
Because they were, we were playing Herbie Hancock charts and Chuck Mangione, and it's just, I didn't play like what they wanted the band to sound like. And
You were like Doc Cheatham does Mangione. Is that what you're saying?
I was like Kid Thomas does whatever he can. So and I didn't know these people, and so if I would hear something on the radio or on a movie or a TV commercial or like whatever, it would really speak to me, and then I didn't really know where else to find it. And then I stumbled upon this band, and this band was the Happy Pals in Toronto, and Cliff Bastion had been coming down to New Orleans several times a year since the 60s, and hanging out with, Kid Thomas and George Lewis, and just trying to pick up from them what they could and bringing it back to Toronto. And they kept that scene alive there, and I heard that music. And as soon as I heard it from the street, I was like, this is it. This is the stuff. And then I followed them down here, and I was like, oh, this is New Orleans. This is my home. It's your bog standard story. Girl goes to New Orleans, girl never leaves.
Girl never leaves. Girl
Heard that
never
before.
leaves. Well,
Yeah.
Well, okay, so Miss Henry and Miss Veronique, the story goes with the original Pinettes that that the band started out of St. Mary's Academy, which is a Catholic all-girl Catholic school out on Chef Ventura Highway, and all. And when the band began, it was playing traditional New Orleans music until it began to play more modern music, and the crowd responded to the modern music.
Yeah.
And all, and so that you all took a curve, you know what I mean? And so can you talk about this? Like, you know what I mean? How rooted would you say the original Pinettes are in traditional music today? And how rooted would you say you are in sort of or what has become the modern traditional marching brass band music?
I think for the most part, any brass band, like the foundation is the traditionals. Right. And so like you have to learn that, you have to understand that in order to play the more modern. But if you think about the Pinettes itself, you have to think about the members that comprise it. So you have like Tasha, who studied at NOCA. Then you have like Chrissy, the band leader, who loves 80s pop and rock. So like you might hear anything the Pinettes play.
Anything.
Literally. Like what? Give us an example.
Valerie by Amy Winehouse.
Rocksteady.
Rocksteady, Ghostbusters theme song, Sweet Dreams. I don't know, you know. List
Roar.
goes on. Roar, Katy Perry. So really it's just about us creating our own sound.
Right.
And like being females is you have to take, I guess, like a feminine touch, but also us coming together. The chemistry is crazy with the Pinettes. Like one time, you know, we might play like Sweet Dreams, and then next 5 minutes we just playing a song and we're all just making our own parts, you know.
Just made up.
And so it's definitely about a feeling and a chemistry, but definitely like rooted in that idea of traditionals. Like we've all grown up like around second lines and understanding the culture, and so like bringing that experience to the music and producing what you hear.
Right, and just to piggy off Veronique here, like she said, we both grew up here into second line music. Her mom is a amazing piano player.
Shout out to my mama watching.
My dad is a phenomenal trombone player, Corey Henry. Shout out to my daddy. So we all grew up around music like every day, whether it's second lines, whether it's funerals, whether it's whatever. We make everything out of music. So like, as far as the Pinettes, we have so much chemistry than we had, I can say, within the past 3 years. Like we've grown so much as a whole, as friends, as a band. That's because we hang together a lot. We practice every Wednesday. So we just have a close chemistry. And even when we get on stage to play, like Veronique said, we could be playing one song and next thing you know, somebody just might pop off with a melody and everybody looking like, oh, all right, well, yeah, we gonna go with this. Let's make up something to this. And before you know it, we really have a whole new song. We have I have so many voice memos in my phone, guys, of songs that we've made up that we probably don't even remember today or don't even remember the next day. But it's just about the chemistry and how we can add stuff and make stuff up and make it sound like something.
Well, the band had been together for more than 20 years before you all put out your first album.
Yeah.
And it was called, of course, Finally. All right? Mm-hmm. So do you plan to have another one sometime?
Definitely.
Most definitely.
Okay, so all of this original music is going toward an album, is what you're saying.
Yes,
all right.
Coming soon.
And so, Miss Dixon, what has been said time and again about the sound of your bands, because you've been you're associated with more than one, is that you're playing unvarnished melody, like you are playing it straight. One of the great things that people loved about Judy Garland, who's in the news now because there's a film coming out about her, but one of the great things that the songwriters loved about Judy Garland was that she sang the song as it was written. As opposed to Frank Sinatra, who would throw in an extra word here or there, or a zing, or Scooby-Dooby, and all. And so, in many ways, when I think about the Shotgun Brass Band, I think about that idea that it's played as it was. or as it was intended?
Well, I'm gonna correct you in that it's a jazz band, and both the bands I play in are jazz bands, and I think there's a fundamental difference just in instrumentation, and I think it's important to remember. But I disagree with you.
Do you?
I think that I try really hard to play the melodies in an unvarnished manner, but I think that any simplicity in my playing comes from lack of technical skill. I'm not joking. I mean, I didn't go to school for music. You know,
Well, the
I
thing
just
is-
really love the music, and I'm trying to do my best. But I tell you what, I'm not being self-effacing or anything. But the guys in my band, Shotgun in particular, will probably tell you, no, she doesn't play the melody the way it's supposed to go, because everybody I play with, everybody I hire in that band is so much better than me, and they know this stuff. They've studied this stuff. They'll tell you where I'm doing it wrong. But it's maybe just not as verbose. So I'm gonna split hairs and say that I'm probably not playing the melodies as written or as straight. I'm trying to, and I'm doing the best I can, and I'll put in some shooby doobies to cover up some flubs. But I'm maybe not embellishing as much as a more dexterous player would want to do. Just because I don't have that ability. I'm hanging on real tight to the melody that I got.
Well, then why do so many people say about Shotgun, I don't like jazz, but I like the Shotgun?
It's an energy thing. I'm pretty sure. Like I said, and this is me just being 100% honest. I'm the worst member of the band in terms of technical skill, but I am. Somebody said to me when I first came to town, there's chops and there's gravy. You're all gravy and no chops. But some people are all chops and no gravy. You know? And I'm trying to balance that out. I'm trying to get more chops and maybe sop up the gravy. But I'm an entertainer, and the music that we play, it's not. And this is a personal opinion, and I'm not down on any sort of modern jazz, but my personal taste is roots music, and whether that's country and western or R&B or rock and roll or jazz. All of the beginnings is what speaks to me, and I think that speaks to the audience. So I'm playing the bands. Of course, we're playing for each other, but we're playing for the audience, and it's recognizable, and people feel that they can participate. And I love it so much that people pick up on that, and they feel included. They don't feel like they're watching some highbrow spectator sport. So I feel like that's probably what people are more. I don't like jazz because they didn't understand jazz, or they've only seen jazz that's a little more highfalutin than what we're playing. Mm-hmm. I never say highfalutin. I just did. Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's just more accessible than what they've been exposed to.
Do you all ever parade?
I have the Shotgun brass band that I will bring out every now and again. But lately, thanks Hannibal Buress, people are coming to town and wanting 3 musicians to follow them around for 3 hours. If I get hired to do a brass band, I'll do it in the style of the old Eureka brass band or the Olympia brass band, and it'll be 10 pieces with a grand marshal, and the tuba will be in the front and the trumpets will be in the back, and that's how I want to do it. And if you can't do it, then I'm not putting the band together. So I will, but it's not often that people are doing that with me these days.
Okay, so Miss Dorsey, Miss Henry, you all are parading. Is that true?
No.
You don't parade.
No.
You do not parade at all.
Do not.
Why?
Well, I think one, for me, the Peanuts found me at a parade, but I literally was just doing it because my friend had died, and I was like, that's the only way I felt like I could honor his life. But it's just not our style, like for us, kind of like Marla said, like we're entertainers, and in a sense, like, yeah, we want people to dance, we want people to move, but we like the energy of the stage, know, and that's like really where our bread and butter is, but also like where our focus is. If that makes sense.
And we can interact more with with the crowd being on the stage. It's like we all in the same room. We like this close. So we have no other choice but to interact with each other to make them feel like they watch entertainers, like they being entertained, and that's our job, just as well as Marla said. That's what we come to do. So like Veronique said, we do better at a stage.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Do you feel as if you might be losing out on an experience that could actually inform your work and make your stage presence more even that much more resonant?
No.
No.
No, because one, we're both at the second line like every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
So I think our job right now, like for me, I feel like our purpose right now is to take what's going on that you hear in the streets and bring it to the world. And so in an instance like there might not be a second line in Canada,
Right.
you know, but
There are, but they're not the same.
yeah, but we could bring that energy to a stage. So when I think about like we just came from Omaha, Nebraska, and like that energy
Crazy.
was crazy. And like these people have never experienced the second line, but it was our job to bring that experience to them. And so like I feel like there are people in New Orleans right now that are the street people and like making the street music, and like we're going, and I love second lines. Like I don't walk the whole second line, but you know I love the second line. And so we take that experience and get those ideas, but also like add our own ideas and bring what you see Friday night at Bullet.
Tonight.
Tonight at Bullet.
But you know, it's
Shameless
so
plug.
interesting because, you know, New Orleans music, since there has been New Orleans music, there have been New Orleans musicians who are concerned that traditions are not surviving, you know? And so you look at a band like Rebirth, for instance, which would be, you know, I mean, something that, you know, I mean, that the original Tuxedo Band would never have even imagined, you know what I mean? But Rebirth, having been on the street for 30 years, you know what I mean, they take a great deal of pride in having been on the street for that long, and I believe that they that they are trying to get off the street, stay off the street. But you know what I mean. But I wonder if, you know what I mean, if they're seeing sort of a younger generation that prefers, as you're saying, the, you know what I mean, the club experience or the concert experience as opposed to the street experience.
I mean, I've known like a few musicians who said, you know, they'd not with the second line. So, I mean, and to come to think about it, to walk and play a horn for 4 hours it's hard work.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
hard work to walk and play the trumpet, sousaphone, beat a drum,
Much
any
less a
of
piano.
that. Exactly. All of that is hard work, especially in the heat. You have hundreds of people crowding you, jumping and everything. So it's a lot about, you know, keeping the culture alive, but it's also about safety too. Because at the same time, you know, we plan to entertain the crowd and to entertain a social and pleasure club, but, you know, we still have to be aware of our safety while we entertaining.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, a lot of musicians, well, I'm going to say a lot of older musicians, they don't really prefer to do second lines no more. Like, it's like the Rebirth. Like, they don't even do second lines anymore. I can't remember the last time they did a second line, guys.
Well, yeah, that's true. And so, you know, in part, I think that they felt from what Phil Frazier says, you know, what they felt as if they had done their time, you know, and were hoping to pass the torch. But nobody wants the torch.
I don't know if that's true, because there are definitely
Yeah.
like bands that are carrying that torch.
Right.
But also there's this idea of like music evolves, you know, and things change. But there's definitely, I don't believe street music is dead. Like you can go any night on Frenchman Street and hear young fellas, and that tells you street music is not dead,
Right.
you know. Or like even going to the second line on Sundays, there's younger and younger faces you see, and now you see like little kids carrying horns and like
Right.
learning
Oh,
the
that's
culture.
keeping the generation going.
Yeah.
Like if we're talking specifically about street music, I don't think that I've seen a second line recently without a band. So if they're saying nobody's picking it up, they haven't seen the second lines.
Right.
'cause
Right.
I mean, and even every day in the French Quarters, the kin folks do black and white gigs, which is all the time. It's always parades. So
What's a black and white gig?
black and
Brass
white.
band uniform.
Yeah, brass
Yeah,
band
white
uniform.
shirt,
black,
black
pants, white shirt, black shoes.
Hat.
You know, school uniform.
Work uniform.
No, yeah, it's not that Rebirth is saying that nobody wants their torch. I said that. You know what I mean? They do want to pass it on. But let me ask you this now, Miss Dixon. You know, obviously there has been you know, it doesn't, you know, as I would imagine, and you please, you know, tell me if I'm wrong. It doesn't matter. Gender doesn't matter in traditional jazz or in jazz until it matters.
Sure.
So, you know what I mean? So talk a little bit about, your experience, you know, I mean, in traditional jazz with regard to gender, you know?
I was having a conversation with somebody just the other day about this, and forgive me if I take my time, because if I choose my words wrong, I don't want to offend anybody. But I have been lucky enough to play with, I mean, you know, I'm middle-aged, so there's a lot of people that I play with that are younger than me. There's a lot of people that I've played with that are older than me. And I've personally seen older musicians that basically, if you can hang on stage, you can hang. It doesn't matter if you're young, old, black, white, man, woman, doesn't matter. But I've seen these older musicians be chill with me on stage, and then talking about money, I'm the leader of the band. They're like, oh, well, we'll just wait till your husband gets here. Fully seriously. Which, you know, you can chuckle about, but it's pretty condescending.
What do you say?
I say, you could wait for him, but I'm paying you. Mm-hmm. So,
Simple, right?
you know.
And is that a conversation
I've
that
seen
you have
those-
once?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to try and change an older person's mind. I'm happy to talk to any, or younger. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. But I've seen these same older people, you know, be racist as hell, you know, hang on stage with, you know, black and white musicians mix in, or there's a Japanese culture of traditional New Orleans jazz here in town, and then get off stage and just be bigoted as hell. So all of that is the same. It's the same issue for me. I was recently at a festival overseas this summer, and I wasn't on the panel, but I saw this question being asked. And the panelist, the interviewer, the moderator asked three of my bandmates from the Shake 'Em Up Jazz Band, an all-female jazz band, if they could tell the difference between a male and female player by listening. And as preposterous as I found that question to be, I was so heartened by the audience, because it was a room full of swing dancers. This was a big swing dance festival in Sweden, and the entire room went and it was just like, oh yeah, all right, okay. So there's a shift in ideology that seems to be happening. The younger that you get, that it's again, the proof's in the pudding. If you can hang, you can hang, and it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. And I think that's what I'm trying to just focus on. I'm trying to leave all the other experiences that I've had, just let them wash away.
Gotcha. And so the Panettes, you know, obviously one of the highlights of the band's experience was in 2013 when the original Panettes won the Red Bull Kings of the Street competition here in New Orleans. And all, and became it, which of course was altered. The title was altered to be the Red Bull Queens of the Street.
Street
right.
Queens.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. OPBB.
Yes. But you know what I mean. But talk a little bit about, when does it matter? When does it really matter? In your experience as Panettes.
When does gender matter?
Yes.
That's pretty hard.
It is.
I mean, it kind of matters, but at the same time, it doesn't, because like Marla said, if you can hang, you can hang. Like, it's a predominantly male industry, so people are, you know, they're more happy to see all females. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when we come out when people come out that have never seen us before, they're so amazed. They ask thousands of questions. Not that it's a problem, but you know, they just intrigued about what's going on, and that it's just all women. And we've had people that tell us that, firstly, let me say this. We've had people that not even seen us, but can hear us and thought that we were guys. Mm-hmm. So I think that says a lot.
Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
you can tell a difference. I think it's ridiculous to think that you can, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm gonna speak to my own experience with the Shake 'Em Up Jazz Band. I've been asked my whole playing career several times, oh, you should put together a girl band. Oh, I know a girl and I know another girl, and then we can just have a guy in a skirt.
Weird.
And you know, the first time it's kind of funny, and then it's kind of weird, and then in my experience, it's just never worked. You can't put a band together based on gender only, because there's interest, there's aptitude, there's skill level, there's personalities, there's that chemistry that Jazz spoke of. And it's just never been there before. It's just been real gimmicky. And some of my bandmates' stories of, you know, being younger and having the older male organizers of festivals, it's kind of gross, in a really off-putting way. But the Shake 'Em Up Jazz Band was put together just as a one-off lunchtime special by Shay Cohn, the leader of Too We're Skinny, for a kids' summer camp called Girls Rock. And they wanted to entertain these girls during their lunch hour and just say, here's a little, while you're eating your lunch, here's an example of what women can do together. And it's entertaining and it's informative at the same time. And we thought, sure, we're giving back. We don't have to give any money. We'll just show up. We'll play music. It's easy. And we got together and we played. And it was that one instance of everything clicking. It was like, oh my gosh, this is the girl band that everybody's always wanted to make. And it was kind of by accident. Wow, this is a thing. A picture of us playing went online, and we booked a 10-day tour in Italy based off that photo. Like, everybody went kind of nuts for it. But it almost didn't happen, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because it's a thing. Like a capital A, capital T thing.
Girls?
Oh, you're a girl band. So, wow, do we want to have the conversation every time we play music about, is it different? Yeah. How does it feel being a woman? How does it make a difference? Do you want to have to fight for... I've been offered a festival that I played the year before with a 6-piece band. I was the only woman. They asked for Shake 'Em Up to come the year after. They offered us literally half the money. Wow. Literally half the money. And then I was accused of being reactionary when I pointed that out. And I want to play music. I'm a feminist, but I'm not a politician. And this isn't a fight that I want to have when I go to work. I just want to go to work. So it nearly didn't happen. We had like a big conversation, like, guys, this is going to be a thing every time we play. How much do you want this band to happen?
I could piggyback off that. Yeah.
Okay, you're going to. But let me ask you: were you? Well, you know, I mean, how much? Not how much, but were you paid ultimately what you were?
Yeah, because there was a
expecting?
strongly and plainly worded letter just asking why and what the difference of, and we've noticed this, and it's very disappointing. To which I was accused of being reactionary and reminded that they also have a Me Too movement where they're from. And I was given the money that I asked for, the same money that my very similar band
Draws
had the year before, and then I've never been offered the gig again.
Gotcha. Miss Henry.
Wow. Okay, just to piggyback off of that, the Pinettes had a few of those issues, I could say, right, Veronique?
Yeah.
Where we've had people try to book us for gigs, and I don't know if it was because we're ladies, they thought that we wasn't worth the money, or, you know, that our performance is not worth the money. But we've had to turn down a lot of those gigs because we not getting what we worked for. Yeah. The Pinettes been in the brass band music, like I said, since before we were born. So just as well as I could believe that Rebirth's done their time, the Pinettes have done their time, and we always, you know, fuss and go back and forth with people about getting what we deserve. Like Veronique said, we won the Red Bull competition. That was an all guys competition. We were the only female band on stage, period. And we came with a show.
Heard we smoked them.
We came with a purpose. And look, she was there. So if you remember, you already know. You know what the deal is already. You know, we came with a fire show. Everybody else came with a second line.
Right.
You know, New Orleans people see that 24/7. We don't want to see that during this competition. We want to see a show. We want y'all to put on a show. We want y'all to act like y'all never seen these people before and make them feel they coming to New Orleans. And that's what we did. So at that point, that's when I think everybody in the band found out, you know, that we could reach our full potential. Mm-hmm. It was so much anxiety. It was just nervous. It was a lot going on, but that made us, I guess, play to the best of our ability, because it was just, the energy was crazy. We had the crowd, like, probably everybody who was under the bridge yelling, "Peanuts, peanuts, peanuts." So that made us even get, that we got hyper.
Yeah.
Because we never had all those people cheering for us like that. It was times where we was playing on Frenchman and 5 people came. 5 people. So, to say we've built our crowd, even at Bullets, from nothing to you can't even come in the door,
Gotta lock the door, yeah.
our price not going down.
And I think too, like, we can't negotiate prices. Like, a lot of times people say, well, this band will do it for $350. And I think that's when it comes in as us being females. Like, I don't have that issue, or well, not issue, but like I can't relate to what my other band members, they have families, like they have children, and like, no, we can't go outside of our houses for $25. Like, no, I have bills to pay. But also, like, we have to think about, we have lives that we have to foster. And so, like, yes, we are full-time musicians, but we also are full-time professionals. And so at the end of the day, like, there's some things that we will not stand for. And so people will say, like, they think in their minds, oh, they're the girls, so we can, like, mess over. I'm like, no, we have a whole life we have to live,
And we have smart girls in our band. Everybody in our band is smart. They've been to college. They graduated. We smart, baby.
Come on.
And so, as I'd mentioned before, women have been involved in jazz since there's been jazz, essentially. And yet, when people cast their minds back to when music lovers cast their minds back to the jazz that they have always loved, it's very rare that people will say, I just love that, I love these 3 trumpet players, from the past, and that in those 3 there would be a woman, and all. And so what artistically, is your ambition in terms of the work that you do, and what are you hoping is going to happen to people who are younger than you, with artists who are younger than you? What are you trying to tell them?
For me,
artistically, yes.
I believe the message is to, like I said, keep the culture going, keep the tradition going, and also that it's not anything that a man can do that a woman can't do. So, you know what I'm saying? Just as well as you see a lot of males out here playing trumpets, trombones, tubas, we got a girl that play tuba. So, you know what I'm saying? It's not, we get it all.
I think artistically for me, I just want to I know there's like this long conversation of jazz that's been going on. It's like I almost feel like I'm like this little dot getting into the conversation. But 100 years from now, if no one knows my name, that's totally fine. But as long as there's some little girl that's playing trumpet, and it's because like she saw the Pinettes one day, or she saw Mia Jazz or Carice, that's all that really matters to me.
Right.
I didn't have that person to look up to, and so just being that figure is what really matters.
Yeah. Going back to my point before, I didn't start playing trumpet with a view to leaving a legacy for other young women. I just really love the music. And in fact, when I came down to New Orleans, I was playing the tuba, and I thought, hey, cool, I'm hanging out in New Orleans. What a boss place to get better at the tuba at, like, who am I hanging around with? Jeffrey Hills and Jap and all those guys. Like, I'm bound to get better, right? I would love it if, whatever gender, anybody younger than me or the same age or older than me, whatever they identify as, if they see me doing something that is not standard, that they can take it as an inspiration and apply it to any part of their lives, the same as I do with anybody else. The only reason I'm playing this music is because I love it. And the only reason I'm playing the trumpet is because it allowed me to start my own band so I could be part of it. Nobody else was hiring me.
Well, that's the thing.
So I'm sorry if that's selfish, but it really is. Like, I'm just doing what I love to do. And if there's benefit from that, awesome.
But over the years, in my line of work, I've talked to a lot of trumpet players or just a lot of musicians, period. Most of them men. And when I mention questions about women in music, they're very supportive until but yet in almost every conversation there comes a time when they say, as long as they don't want my spot. You see. And the truth of the matter is, that's not a male thing. That's a people thing, you know.
Right.
And so I would imagine, and I'm not a musician, but you've got to bring something that nobody else can bring, right? And so, what is it that you feel you can, if you can articulate it? What is it, whether you're with the Panettes or with any other group that you think is, is compelling enough, to go toe to toe with any other trumpet player out here?
I think for me, it's my experience in gospel. And so, like Jazz kind of alluded to, my mom is a gospel musician. And so, like, I grew up, I don't think I listened to R&B music till I was about 8 or 9 years old. Like, we listened to gospel nonstop. And so, like, when I approach instruments, I really think about it sounding like a voice. And so when I play trumpet, it's not the best sounding voice, but that's what I'm actually trying to mimic. And I'm also a drummer. And so, like, a lot of times people listen to me on drum, they're like, you do something different, like with the cymbals and this. And I'm like, I'm not trying to bang it. I'm literally trying to hear something, this voice coming out of the instrument. And so I feel like that's my artistic contribution to the music.
Miss Henry? What you got?
Ba-da-ba-da. For me, I feel like my dad was a huge, well, still is, hard on me about playing music and practicing and getting better. So I believe for me, it's just to get better. And also, like we discussed earlier, everybody brings something different to the table. I feel what I bring feeling. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everybody can't play with feeling. Everybody can't play from their heart or from their soul. So when I get on stage or whenever I play, whether it's Bullets, Satchmo Fest, French Quarter Fest, whatever it may be, I try to get up there, play my best, and play from here. Because when you play from here, you'll never get the sound that you'll get when you're not playing from here, if that makes any sense.
Can I add on to that? Jazz not gonna tell you, but she could dance. Like, she could dance up behind her. And so when I listen to Jazz playing, like, it's almost like she's dancing on the horn. So, like, or she's like making this sound that's gonna make y'all dance, And so I think that's the experience you also bring to the table too.
Yeah, I could feel that, cause when I'm playing, I'm dancing in my head. So, like, even
dancing for real.
Oh yeah, or dancing and playing for real. I don't know if a lot of people can do that, but I try to make, since I'm into second line music so much, I try to make, like, my phrases or my licks as if I'm moving to the beat. If that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So that's how I feel like I play. You know what I'm saying? I just don't play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Miss Dixon, what are you bringing?
Just the love of it, the love of performing, the love of the music specifically.
You're also quite a singer.
People like my singing. But once they hear my trumpet playing, you should sing more. It's the music that I love. And I mean, I maybe took a handful of vocal lessons when I was like 12. Like, I'm not trained. I really like the music. I love it a lot. And I'm trying to tell a story. I'm trying to, more than anything else, more than sitting down thinking, how am I going to tell the story of this wonderful song? I'm trying to engage the audience, and I'm trying to keep my band interested. That's the whole truth right there. I already know that I love this stuff. I'm trying to get everybody else in the room on board, and that's, I think, what people find engaging. And I'm gonna say, and this is maybe you can judge me for this. I hope I say it the wrong way. Everybody likes an underdog, and right now it is still novel to have female leaders or female entire bands or trumpet players, and I'll ride that as long as there is, but it's coming to an end soon because there's more and more and more and more. I was just in Edinburgh and I was walking down the street and I heard New Orleans jazz and I was like, I'm in Scotland, what the hell? And I walked into this venue and it was 6 women up on stage playing New Orleans jazz. It was a jazz festival, so
How did they sound?
they sounded like they really loved the music and they were doing great. They were a young band. They have a ways to go, but they sounded really amazing. Like it pulled me in off the street. And it was just more than, critiquing the music. I was like, oh, 6 chicks. Cool. It's everywhere and it's happening. And I liked it.
Well, didn't the Shake 'Em Up brass band, it's an all-female brass band. Jazz band, excuse me. Didn't you all do an album that focused on women composers?
Entirely women composers.
Yes. And so how hard are those songs to find?
Not hard at all. A lot of them you will know as a jazz standard and just assume that a male wrote it. Mm-hmm. Like I say all the time on stage, this one was composed by the other L. Armstrong, Lil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so give us a song. I mean, tell us about one of the songs that appeared on that album. Something that most people don't know and wouldn't know in terms of the composer, in terms of the song itself. I want to be able to walk out of here and go find a piece of music that I didn't know existed.
Okay. There's I can't say your last name. I can't pronounce it. I have like a mental block. Oh, help me.
Can someone help?
She wrote all these rags. She actually probably only wrote about a half a dozen rags before her husband made her stop writing rags. But she wrote The Dusty Rag. And her name was May Offer. I'll look it up before we finish. But it's a great old rag, and you wouldn't, if you heard this old rag, you'd think, oh, that's like kind of Scott Joplin-y or whatever. No, it's this woman that just sat down and wrote all these wonderful rags that people play, but don't know that a woman wrote it.
The Dusty Rag.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the Dusty Rag. Anybody in the audience know the Dusty Rag? Yes, sir. Do you know who wrote it?
You can't pronounce her name either, can you? Thank you. Afterhide.
Off the hide or off?
Afterhide.
Afterhide.
Afterhide. Remember that, kids. All right. And thank you. The Dusty Rag, May Afterhide. Mm-hmm. And so Miss Dorsey, Miss Henry, can you know what I mean, is there any music that you'd like to point us to written by women? It could be written by yourselves.
I think
Get a Life.
Oh, and Ain't No City. But
yeah,
no, I was going to
originals.
say Ain't No City because I heard that's like the anthem of New Orleans. Doug McCash wrote that in NOLA.com. So you should listen to Ain't No City by the original Peanuts Brass Band.
How does it go?
Ain't no city like the one I'm from. I said it ain't no city like the one I'm from. From food to drink, partying and fun. Said it ain't no city like the one I'm from. Second lines and DJs, them Indians. Ain't no city like the one I'm from. New Orleans Saints, style champions. Said it ain't no city like the one I'm from. And if you never been here, then you might won't come.
Ain't no city like the one I'm from. Yeah.
Oh, my word. And when did you all write that one?
2012.
1908 and 2012, women are still working.
Still working.
They're working.
Right?
Still doing it.
So, now, let me ask you this, and I know this will probably be my last question to you today, but, you all are young women. I mean, you're young. And you're young trumpet players, and I know that we're here because this is Satchmo Fest, and I know this crowd is an Armstrong crowd, but how much really does Louis Armstrong figure into your work?
Hugely. He was like I said, it was the first CD that I ever bought. Being from Canada originally, the ambassador to New Orleans music and to the trumpet around the world is Louis Armstrong. So he was, he was the guy that spoke to me.
What's the song that you turn to? If you know what I mean, that you turn to. We all turn to something in life. You know what I mean. In our more troubled times, in our more joyful times, what Armstrong do you turn to?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I know.
That's a real tough one.
We can give you a minute to think about it.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, Miss Dorsey, Miss Henry, Does Louis Armstrong figure into your mind? Is he just like, you know what I mean? I don't know, George Washington, somebody who's hanging, you know what I mean, hanging on a, you know, in a photo somewhere or a painting or something? Does he figure into your life?
I think for me, growing up, well, I didn't start playing trumpet until like 7th grade, and I honestly can say I didn't really get serious about it till about college after really when I got into pinnets. But it was like one of those things, like I play trumpet, you like have to listen to some Louis Armstrong, like that you don't really have a choice. But now when I think about it, I've done all of this historical research, like really researching his life, and that's what I do for a lot of artists, and just trying to understand like what experiences created the music that came out of their lives. And so for me, when I think about Louis Armstrong, I think about what in his life made him Louis Armstrong. Like now it's me, that cultural barrier, like continuing that legacy of Louis Armstrong. And so of course I sound nothing like him.
Either.
At all. One day maybe, I don't know. But definitely like continuing that legacy.
Do you, and Miss Henry?
For me, I'd say my dad, he made me listen to Louis Armstrong growing up. So I kind of didn't have a choice. Not that I didn't like it or anything like that, because he had a great voice. That was the most interesting to me, how his voice was so raspy and just how you can sing with that. I'd say I like the song La Vie en Rose. That's one of my favorite songs. I remember practicing that, trying to play that growing up. Probably way too much. And can't remember a bit of it today.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
But I could say that, I mean, for any trumpet player, they should have, you know, some sort of respect for Louis Armstrong. Like I said, being the ambassador, trumpet ambassador, not just of New Orleans, but just, you know, in general. Everybody should have lots of respect for him because he paved the way for a lot of people.
And yet, but do. Should is a big word, but do is a better word. Do people talk about in your circles? And you can be honest. I mean, nobody's going to take your birthday away from you or anything. Yeah.
To be honest, I can't speak for everybody. Me, I do. Like I said, because he paved the way for me, for Vera, for Marla, for people who's not here today. So
okay.
Yeah, I do. I have mad respect for Louis.
And Miss Dixon, I mean, in your life, how often do the words Louis Armstrong come up?
Oh, probably most gigs. Yeah, most gigs, either if it's a song choice or somebody in the audience wants something, or more humorously, I've been called Louise Armstrong. No, it's all the time. All the time. I mean, when I first moved to town, I've had some really great older mentors who knew that when I came to town, I was listening to, like I said, Kid Thomas. I was listening to Thomas Jefferson. I was listening to all those old guys, Kid Clayton. I wasn't listening. I'd heard a lot of Louis Armstrong, obviously, but I wasn't listening to a lot of Louis Armstrong with a view to my own playing. And one of the things that a couple of my older mentors that will remain nameless, but I thank them, they'd both said, you know, what you're listening to is great, but you gotta listen to Louis. Like, you gotta listen to Louis. And it's helped my playing immensely.
And so, you know, give us another song that we're going to walk away from here today and listen to, and why? What Armstrong song, you know, I mean, do you turn to, and what's in that song that we should hear?
There is not just one song, but the first song that came to mind, it's Chinatown. I forget what Ricky helped me. Say what? Yeah. It's not Louis's playing though that gets me. It's the sax section. Bow down, ba ba da 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 da, and I can just hear that chugging, and he's talking. He's like, yeah, come on, and I'm like, that's he's making that band hum. You know, I don't know. It's maybe it's the band and he's just riding on their glory. I doubt it, but it's that recording just it kills me.
Oh boy, and Miss Dorsey, did you tell us which Armstrong song she's turn to?
Sticking it to us. She's gonna make you sing.
I don't have one song. I just think the idea of him changing the whole I guess, concept of jazz is what like really pushes me, like what is going to be my contribution. And I often question that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are unfortunately out of time. Make some noise for this wonderful history. The all-female trumpet panel. Make some noise from y'all. Thank you so much.
So,
Thanks for having us.
thank you, Marla Dixon. Thank you, Veronique Dorsey. Thank you,
Thank
Jazz
y'all.
Thank you again.
Henry.
Thank you again. Thank you so much. And
Good night.
big shout out to French Quarter Festival for making this possible. And in a few minutes, we'll have
Hey,
Mr.
how's
Ricky
it going?
Riccardi coming back up. Thank you.
Hello, this is Robin Barnes, the Songbird of New Orleans. Welcome to the 19th annual Satchmo SummerFest, presented by Chevron and the Hilton Satchmo Legacy Stage. This event is produced by French Quarter Festivals Incorporated, a nonprofit organization showcasing